So you got your dwarves, you got your elves, you got your halflings, you got your gnomes, you got your half orcs, and that's not enough sometimes. So we'll talk about it. Stick around. Hi, folks. Old Man Grognard here, and today I want to talk about um, races, sub races in role playing games. Now, I know in your standard fantasy D&D type game, you have your basic races, and usually that's enough. But there will be certain times when you might want to let another race in there. It's kind of a long, hard thing, so let's go over it. So, why would you want another race besides the core races? Okay, first of all, several situations. One, you pick up a supplement and you really like some of the new races in there. Okay, fine, cool. Another situation is, say you're playing a game with a lot of splat books, like second edition, and well, that's getting into kits actually, but like there's a humanoids book out there where some races are statted, some humanoids that are usually in monsters are statted up in there, like minotaurs, things like that. And the players are drooling at the mouth to play. Okay, fine. Or you may come up with your own um, race that you want to use in your own world as a substitute for this race, like what they did in Dragonlance. I don't approve of the Kinder, but that's what they tried to do to get away from the halflings and the hobbits. So these things can come up. First of all, you got to sit down and think about it. Would this race fit in my world? And that's a very important question. Now, if you're playing a published world and that, they have that alternate race already, that doesn't mean you have to include it. But 9 times out of 10, you usually do. So I'm not poo-pooing it, but and if you're coming up with your own stuff and you've got this one race, say from a supplement or something you really like, or the players really like, you got to sit down and how would he work it into your world? How what's the population? Where would they be distribution wise? Things like that. And I'll get back to that in a minute as far as my campaign goes. And if it's a fit, okay, it's a fit. And the players want to play it. I like to be a little more subtle about it. For instance, when I started my D&D, my Castles and Crusades campaign, I started in Bluffside, which was a supplement, as you know. Bluffside City on the Edge. Now, as it turns out, Bluffside comes with about 5 different new races that you can include. There's one of them, the Dragori. And I had to think about it because, first of all, are there similar races in my campaign? Turns out, no, there isn't, except for maybe one exception. They have an elven race in there that are half elves, but they're not real half. They're elves, but they're half drow, half normal elf, which I felt was redundant because that would happen anyway. What I did was I started the campaign with just the base humanoids. Assume the other races lived there since I let them in, aside from the elf thing I told you about. And I'm still up in the air about that. I'm not going to deal with it until it comes up, or I can come up with it for a great plot. Well, about second or third game in, I introduced the hermit and the tree from Keep on the Borderlands, which they were running through anyway, and I made him a wizard inventor, but I made him a gnome. I made him a steam gnome, which is a new race in Bluffside, as the primary focus because he gets them to clean out a dungeon, and then afterwards he gets kidnapped by pirates, so they're going to save him. So that gets the steam gnome in there. Another thing I did is when they were looking for a boat to go to the Isle of Dread, when they were going down the elevator in Bluffside, I said, you notice the birdmen flying around and people jumping off the thing. And one guy goes, birdmen? What birdmen? And I showed him the Sixum. And I said, this is what they look like. And all of a sudden one of the players going, maybe I should have an untimely death of my character and come up with one of those. But I ignored that. Um, and they had a fight in the shipyards. And I use that as a chance to introduce another one of the races. It seems like the brothers who ran the shipyard were being strong-armed by the local thugs mafia. With there were two. The enforcers were two half-orcs, a human assassin, and a monk. Now we have a monk in the party already, a dwarf monk. Well, I made this monk a Dragori monk, like so, which was cool because that not only gave me a great antagonist in the story, but it also introduced the Dragori race, and it made him a Dragori monk. It's just, and all of a sudden, our monk in the party now has an adversary or rival, because this guy in the ensuing battle disappeared into the shadows because he saw they were losing, because I made him true neutral. So he will be turning up again, believe me. And, you know, the monk's going to get another shot at him because he was really kicking the monk's butt. But he decided to break off and just, you know, retreats the better part of valor or something. And so he took off. So, okay, now they know about the Dragori. Now I started asking about, now that the monk character starts asking, is this guy going to turn up? They ran into a lair of lizard men on the island. And the first thing he said was, now, are these like the dragon-headed, the Dragori? No, these are straight-up lizard men. So it's in their mind. And I will have this guy return once or twice. And if he loses his character or he wants to make a new character, I will let him make a Dragori. They are very interesting, a proud race from the desert. Making him a monk makes it even more interesting. The guy was fighting him, but it was more like a let's see what this youngster can do, because he was like 2 levels higher than him, 2 to 3 levels higher. So, and it's basically he came up, you're impetuous, but you have talent. I will see you later. You know, I love those kind of guys. And he may turn up on the island again to help them, or just to watch, because I'm making him mysterious, which makes the race a little mysterious, which is good. In fact, also while they were on the island in the campfire last night, they're getting ready to bed down. These 2 Rakasta hunters come up, and those are from Mystara. And they were on a hunting party and they got lost, and they stayed the night but got up in the morning when they heard a sound, and it turns out these 2 Allosauruses attacked the camp. After the players took care of the Allosauruses, they went back on the trail where they were heading for the pirates, and they found 1 dead and 1 severely injured, which they healed. And he said he'd like to get his brother back to the tribe for a decent burial. And they said, okay, we will see you again. Bye-bye. So I like to drop them in just a little bit like this. I am totally convinced that at least one of these races will turn up later on as a player character. But like I said, you've got to think about when you do it, you've got to think about if they fit in the world, where they fit in the world. I've already decided all 5 of these races, they're pretty much clustered around the Bluffside area because it's in my world of Earth. But I decided as you get further out, they become less and less prominent because they pretty much started in the same place. I mean, the steam gnomes, they found the steam gnomes that are built in the city. The Sixum, the flying guys, had nests near there. The Dragoris come from the Dragon Sands area, which is like right around, this is a valley, so it's like right on the other side of the valley. They have tribes and things like that, very Arabian, that kind of thing. So that's how I'm doing it, and I recommend that to you too. And that way you can effortlessly slip them in instead of somebody going, I want to play this! You know, that kind of thing. Anyway, that's all I got for now. So keep the cards and letters coming in at oldmangrognard@gmail.com. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.